Hey guys, so hello, welcome back. So if you just got here right now, just make sure please that you back up a few videos, or if you already have an understanding of HTML, then that's fine. You can just go on from here, and you just want to learn how to convert HTML to PHP. You can pick it up from here because I'm pretty sure you'll understand everything else that was done already with HTML, assuming that you already know HTML. But if not, then it will be pretty hard to understand where we are right now. So just go back and just even if you had to put it at the double speed or something like that, just kind of go back and read, watch a little bit of the other videos and see how we got this far. But if not, then if you already know HTML and you kind of figure out where we are, then you can pick it up from here. All right, so what are we gonna do here is, like I explained in my last video, it is really hard to duplicate pages in HTML and just keep producing more HTML pages, because it makes the code really hard to maintain. Because like I said, if you have to change something in the navigation like the logo, you'll have to change it on every single HTML page that you have that navigation with that logo in it. So PHP makes things a little easier. And when I say PHP, again, don't get too focused on just PHP being able to do this, because there are many other languages that can do this for you. But I'm choosing PHP because I feel like for beginners it's the easiest language to implement without the need to have a lot of other work and a lot of other setting up and environments and components that are needed for dependencies and a lot of crap that you will need to make those work. PHP is an open source language. You can download it. You can download PHP itself into your machine if you don't have it. Visual Studio Code already has PHP and downloaded in it, and PHP is interpreted by any browser out of the box. It doesn't require any type of setting up or anything like that. So it's pretty easy. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're going to learn how to convert HTML into PHP and how to set up your PHP environment so you can start building from PHP from this point forward. And you'll see how much easier it is, how easier it will be to make these pages from this point forward. Okay, but we still have to convert the ones we already made. All right, so I'm assuming that you guys already added the the extension for PHP, but if not, I'll remind you. You need to go into extensions, and in here you search for PHP debug and PHP IntelliSense and PHP server. Okay, so once you have those running, and you can read, especially this one, PHP server, you can read through it a little bit to make sure that it's working properly, but make sure that that your PHP is reading from a local copy of your PHP language to make sure that it is working perfectly, okay, that is working correctly. So if for some reason your PHP pages are not showing up because it can't find PHP inside your system, it's probably because you need to download PHP. So if you need to download PHP, if you type PHP in the browser, you'll be able to go to the particular website where you'll be able to download the language PHP 7 and download it to your from the download page to any place where you want it to be in your website, and make sure that it is it's done that is done at a global stage, that is not in the same root. You don't want to download PHP right here inside your website. You want PHP to be outside of your website, somewhere in the C drive or something like that. Okay, now before we get that far, for your local host to be able to understand PHP and all that, you've got to make sure that your XAMPP is running localhost Apache. Okay, and well, you don't need MySQL, but localhost Apache. Okay, so you got to make sure that that kind of stuff is working. For some environments, without the XAMPP active and working, this wouldn't work. And the best way to XAMPP, I don't know if I covered this in the early videos or not, but if you don't have XAMPP, it's very easy to to install, you just go to XAMPP and click download here, and it will take you to the page where you can download it for your application. And then again, you want that to be like in your C drive or something like that, and then you can just set it up. It's very easy to set up. It will tell you exactly how to set it up. Then once you set it up and you open the console, the control panel, and you make sure that this right here will say start, you click on start, and it will start your server, your local server. Okay, so again, a lot of computers, it depends how your computer is set up. A lot of computers have IIS already built in, ready to go, and that's fine, but some don't. I don't like IIS. I'd rather use my own local host, so I use XAMPP. So it's up to you. Okay, alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and close this and close Bootstrap as well. Okay, so these are the HTML pages that we created. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this over into PHP. Now here's the thing, because we're using with PHP now, let me close this. Because we're using PHP, because we're going to, not now, because we're going to, this live server that we were using before to show our changes and stuff like that will not work anymore, because live server is only for HTML. So we won't be using this anymore. Okay, we'll be using a different way to serve your application on the browser, so you see what you're doing. But before we get that far, let's go ahead and start turning this thing over. Okay, alright, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna rename these pages, and we're gonna do that by right clicking, rename, and PHP at the end. So now that is a PHP file instead of an HTML file. Notice that it just went away because it's trying to look for HTML. Okay, same thing with the HTML page. We're gonna rename that to PHP and hit enter or click off of it or whatever. So now that the HTML is in PHP, right, in order for them to show up in the browser, which is not gonna show up anymore, this is still reading from the HTML page, what you're gonna do is you're gonna right click inside the file, and you'll see this right here, Surf Project. Click Surf Project, and here we go. We got our index PHP. So here we go. Now it's that easy. You see that? It's that easy. You converted an HTML page into a PHP page. The browser understands PHP and is able to interpret PHP and all the HTML that is inside the PHP. So this will work just fine. Okay. Now if I go to my about page, it won't find it because it's still trying to find the HTML page, because that's what we told it to do in the navigation. In the navigation, we told it that when we click on that item, that we needed to click on about HTML, but about HTML doesn't exist. So we're gonna change that as well. We're gonna return here a PHP page instead of an HTML page. I'm gonna change those. I know these two pages are not created yet, but they will be eventually. So you want to do it ahead of time. The home page will always be the slash, so that doesn't need anything. Okay, so save that, come over here, and this doesn't have an instant reload. You're gonna have to reload it yourself. So you reload it, and if I go to my about page, now it's working. Okay, and there's nothing there because we haven't created it. It's empty, but you see that it's already working. Okay, all right. Now excuse me. Now here's the deal. We have an about page, and we have all this page here that we have to change here as well. PHP, all that. Now you see the problem, right? Now you see how every change that I had to do into the navigation here for PHP, I also have to do it here. And if I had any other page, I will have to do it there as well. And that's exactly why we don't want to do HTML pages, you know, like this, an entire website full of HTML pages, because all these changes will have to be done in each particular page. So this is where PHP will help you. Okay, so I'm gonna close this here, not close it, but I'm gonna collapse it, and then in here in the main root, click off on that, and we're gonna create a folder, and we're gonna call it partials. Partials. Yeah, you can call it partials, you can call it includes, you can call it views, views. You can components, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. I like partials because I like to keep views for Angular and for Vue, two JavaScript frameworks, and I like to keep components reserved for React websites. So I like to keep some stuff like that. So whenever I see partials, I know that I'm dealing with PHP basically. Okay, hit enter, and inside of partials we're gonna create a bunch of different views in there, and each view is going to deploy a global item, that I know that I will be needing in different pages. Okay, so what do we have here that is global? We have the header, I mean the navigation header, yeah. We have the newsletter, and we have the footer, right? So these three items are going to be the same on every page. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to create a view for all that. But also, I'm going to create a view for all my references that I know are going to be the same. So I know I'm always going to reference my style sheet. I know I'm always going to reference Font Awesome and Bootstrap and these three meta tags. So all that stuff is never going to change. So might as well just, you know, instead of having to repeat this code everywhere, I'm gonna put that in there too. So in here, I'm gonna create a file inside the click on partials, create a new file, and I'm gonna call it header.php. Hit enter. I'm gonna click there, click Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Alright, I'm gonna rename these. So I'm gonna rename this one navigation. I'm gonna rename this one newsletter, and I'm gonna rename this one, what was it? Oh, footer. Yeah. So now I have these 4 different views that I'm going to store my code in there. Okay, so here I already have them open here automatically. So let's start with the header, the main one on the top. So I'm gonna come to my index here, and I'm gonna grab these 3 lines, cut them, and paste them. And then I'm gonna come here to these references here and cut them and add them underneath it here. And I'm just gonna flush this with Control Tab or Shift Tab, sorry, so they could be flush. I'm gonna save that, come back over here, and then I can take this space. And the reason why I'm leaving this here, because this is not a global item. This is going to be different on every page. Okay. So now I took this stuff over here and I put it, what is it, in here. So nothing will show up, right? The stuff that I put here, I took it away, therefore now this is probably going to be broken. So if I hit save and I come over here, see, it doesn't work. The reason why is because it doesn't know where it went. So now it's where we introduce a brand new line of code that is going to be a PHP code, and that's going to go like this. This is called the include tag. Okay, so you're going to first open up your line of code with PHP instruction, which is basically telling the code, hey, I'm about to give you some PHP instructions here. And the closing line, which is this one. And then in here in the middle is where you put your code in there. So we're going to put include parentheses and single quotes, and then we're going to reference one step back into partials, header, and hit save. And now if I come over here and refresh it, boom, it's back. It's basically grabbing everything that is in here and it's including it in here. Okay, so now when you create new pages, instead of having to copy this, right, in every page, all you have to do is just copy and paste the injection, only the injection. So if I needed to do any changes to my style sheet, let's say I wanted to add another style sheet for something else, we'll call it style sheet 2, I don't have to add it on every single page. All I have to do is add it on this particular view in here, and it will propagate here and in every page that I have this. this line. Make sense? So that's the beauty of it. All right, now there are other tags which I don't want to get too in-depth in this, because that will be a topic for a PHP course eventually. But you can use include, and you can also use require, and essentially they kind of both do the same. So if I do this, and I'll show you, it will still show. The only difference between include, I'm gonna put it back, between include and require is that if the file doesn't exist, it doesn't break your site. If the file doesn't exist, it would just continue to ignore that inclusion, and then it will show that portion broken, but the script will continue running. But if you have a require, it will show the break, but it would also show a fatal error, and it will stop the script from running. So I know that sounds a little complicated, but again, don't worry about it. That's for another tutorial. For this tutorial, we're just going to use include, and it's the simplest and most beginning way to include a partial view inside your HTML. So we got this right here, and this works. You just keep doing this. You can also use include once. You can do that one too. So if you want to read up on all of these, go ahead. Eventually there will be a tutorial for this stuff. Alright, so now that we have that, what other items do we have? We have the navigation. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy and actually cut it, go to the navigation and put it in here. Okay, and I'm gonna format this shift tab until it's flushed. There we go. Hit save, come back over here, and I'm gonna copy this and put it where the nav used to be. Nav. Alright, remove this, and the showcase is not a global item. It's only particular to this page, so it can stay there, because we will not be able to, if we need to do any changes to the showcase, we can just come over here and do it here, because it only affects this particular page, nothing else. Now the newsletter does. The newsletter does is in fact a global item, but not all of it though. Remember over here in the newsletter we gave this class over here, so you don't want this class to affect all the pages that the newsletter is going to be, right? Because in the index page it doesn't need it, but in the about page and every other page that is not the newsletter, that is not the index page, you'll need it. So instead of storing the entire newsletter in here, right, we're only going to inject the inside portion there, the container. So we're going to hit X, go to the newsletter, paste it, highlight, shift tab, there we go, save it, and then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna highlight this, copy and paste it inside of where it used to be, and change it to the right stuff, newsletter. Okay, then the boxes are particular to this page only, just like the showcase was, and then the footer. Now the footer and this, all of this stuff is basically the footer and this right here to here. Okay, so this footer right here with all the scripts, not the body, make sure you don't highlight the body. We're gonna cut that and we're gonna go to the footer and we're gonna put it in there, and just because I'm really picky, I'm gonna do this, save it, and excuse me, and I'm gonna come over here, highlight this one, paste it in there, footer. Look at this, look how small this this page just turned. Okay, this page just turned really small, a lot easier to read, and everything's organized, because if you know you need to change something in the header, it's going to be in here. If you need something in the nav, it's going to be here, or in the newsletter, or in the footer. Okay, so now that everything is moved over, let me go ahead and save this. Excuse me, something's in my throat. Make sure I refresh to make sure it works, and it works. Everything's working. All right. So now that we converted the HTML, we still have to keep working on the other ones. So I'm gonna close this, and the header and the footer. So then we need to actually work on this one as well and change this stuff. So we're going to remove this, we don't need anymore, and this we don't need anymore, and we're going to add the header from the index. Come over here and add it there. We're not gonna need the navigation anymore, so we're gonna come over here and grab the navigation, put that in there. The newsletter, we're not gonna need the container part, so we come over here to the here and grab the container and highlight that, put it in there. The main we're gonna keep obviously in this page because it only relates to this page only, but the footer and stuff like that is not going to be needed. So from here to here, delete that, come to the index page and pick up the footer. Now pick up the footer, put it in here, boom, there you go. Save it. Now we're gonna refresh and go to the about page, and there it is. If we go to the home page, see, everything is working fine, and look how fast it loads because it's reading everything perfect. Okay, now you notice here this one says HTML home, and then if you go here, this one says HTML tutorial about. Why? Because we left those in here the way they are in each page. We didn't add them to the include because those things are going to be specific to this page alone and not to the rest. Okay, so like this one too, but everything else inside is going to be fine. Alright, so that is super easy. Okay, if you wanted to create a new page, now you know that to create a new page is as simple as replicating this entire code but leaving this part empty for your next page. So now that I kind of gave you your homework already, I gave you the answer for your homework. How about this? How about for the next tutorial, before the next video starts, how about you create the programs page, but don't worry about what's inside here. You can use any lorem ipsum if you want. Go ahead and create a programs page. Make sure that it's a PHP page, obviously. Do the injections, do everything you need, and then just in here make something like this, hello programs, something like that, just so you know that it works. Okay, just so you know that you get in the header, just so you know that you get in the footer, things like that. All right, how about we do something like this? I'm gonna put this back for me. Okay, do something like that, and then that'll work. And if you are wondering what goes inside the about page, just so you can finish this page, I'll give you some time to look at this. I mean, you can pause it. I'm not gonna give you some time. You just basically pause it, just so your about page doesn't look blank, because I know I didn't explain what's in it, and I didn't explain it because I didn't want to spend too much time into describing things that I've already explained before, like the H1 and the classes and what all this stuff means and all that stuff. But if you wanted to know, just pause it and just kind of copy this. And this is regular lorem ipsum. You don't have to actually type this up. You can just go to loremipsum.com and copy it there. Not loremipsum.com, just lorem ipsum, and I think this one maybe. And not that one. Generator. To the generator. Go to the generator, and as soon as it loads, yeah, and then just copy this, okay, and put it in here. So yeah, don't worry about typing this up because that's gonna take you forever. Just go to here to this website, loremipsum.io, and just highlight that and put it in here, and do the same thing for this one, you know. And then this is the sidebar. This is the sidebar. Okay, this shows a dark block, and right here And this sidebar uses also a dark class, so it shares the same class, therefore it shares the styles. Okay, right? That's easy. Alright, so go ahead and finish your about page, and for your homework, create a programs page and do whatever you want inside it. I don't care what you do inside it. It's not about that. It's about making sure that you are using your PHP includes correctly, so that your headers and your footer and your newsletter and all that stuff shows up. And then we'll worry about it in the next video. We'll worry about what to put inside. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.